Good morning, welcome. It is 10:30 a.m. It is Sunday, and that means it is time for Sunday Club, a weekly Ruby on Rails live stream where each week we look to make some progress on a Rails application that we're working on. And the Rails application we are working on is an event ticketing and registration application. Been making good progress. If you want to take a look at previous streams, you can do so by going over to YouTube and looking in the channel archive. It is Sunday Club, SUNDAE Club, and you will find everything there. You can take a look. We've built previous apps in the past, and it will there'll be plenty of stuff in there for you. I've mentioned it at the end of a couple of streams. This is the only bit of follow-up we got today. I have turned on or enabled in Twitter. They give you now a free newsletter, email newsletter. I haven't linked to it or mentioned it anywhere other than at the very, very end of a couple of streams. So I am going to start rounding up some things that we've learned or useful links or just some stuff in some streams that have been useful, maybe once a month or so. And so I think you can find it. Let me see if I actually know where they put it. On Twitter. I'm going to share my screen in a second. Let's see if we can see it. I think on the Sunday Club profile. Let me take a quick look. Yeah, here we go. So let me. I'm just going. This is still. We're still just going to do this as follow up. So let me jump over and share my screen. So this is the Sunday Club Twitter profile, and underneath, I actually haven't put a logo in or anything yet. It has one subscriber. I think that's me. And it says subscribe. So there you can click through, and if Twitter knows your email address, I think it'll subscribe you automatically. And if not, it'll just ask you for your email address. And what I'm going to do is, to save people having to watch all of these streams, you can sign up there and get some, just some condensed, useful tidbits that might be useful. Let's jump into it. That's the only follow-up I've got nothing, no other follow-up. Let's pick up where we left off and talk about what we're going to do today. So the picking up where we left off, we've got git commits to write, I would guess. I think all of this is done, unless we want to add our feature test into this work. And that's the idea of being able to administrate the events via our admin area. So edit the events, add new ones, stuff like that. At the moment, we've only got a few basic fields on an event, but that's fine. We've got the basics in place. What we really want to do today, the thing we want to cover, is adding feature tests. So I wonder if let's take a look and see if we can get this stuff committed. And then I want to go and take a look at the current state of writing system tests, integration tests, all of those kind of things in Rails, and dive into that. So let's see if we can tidy this up with some commits first, and then we know we're in a tidy place. But we can still work on this PR. I think adding feature tests can be a legit thing to do. So we've added in not a lot of junk. Okay, so maybe we're tidying some stuff up as well. So let's remove some debugging code by the looks of it. And we added in not found. Okay, fine. Added in a form. Okay. So let's do our let's do our commit. So we add in our update action first. That covers the controller spec. And definitely the update action. I wonder if the spec changes here also cover that not found work. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I think I see that doesn't work anyway because it doesn't have the dot take on the end. That would be an error. Okay, fine. So we can just. So this code here, let's just take a look at a previous commit. Yeah, add for organization. And then I think in this previous one, we changed this, but I think this is wrong. Okay. Yeah, so we've got to commit these separately. I think they need fixing up to fix the previous code. Let's unstage that. This is all VS Code. We're doing our Git stuff in. So in our controller, we are going to stage selected ranges. Stage selected ranges. So we should have those two changes there, which is good. And I think we don't want anything from our spec because that's all we're adding for adding update. So we want to commit this, and this is oh no, this is a fix up commit, isn't it? So we just put one a bit bigger. We'll put fix up. And we want to say update before action dot take fix. So basically we added a method in a previous commit, and it returned a collection rather than it was a collection that would only ever return one result, but because of the way we'd written the query, it was only going to return a collection. So we just had to take, which is get the one, and then we also had this not found. So we probably want some tests for that as well, but that's just in a fix up, so we can do that. Then we can add in our update action and the tests for the update action in the controller test. That can be add update action to admin events controller. That one's done. That could probably go. Just put squash question mark in the thing. Add squash. Add route for update action. That could probably go in the previous commit because that would. Actually, it needs to go in the previous commit because the tests would fail without the route, wouldn't they? That can go there. So we'll come back and rebase all this. That's why I'm just chucking in like fix up and squash and stuff like that. So then new form edit. Use form partial for admins editing events. We'll just write that up a little bit better. And then here we're just adding in links. Add links for navigating admin events. Cool. So we've got sort of the narrative of a PR in here somewhere. Actually, quite a large one. I don't think we're doing a huge amount though. Yeah. Okay. So I think if maybe we can squeeze feature tests in there, and if we don't, that's fine too. All right. So let's go and take a look at the kind of current state of. Just going to check the stream audio while I'm here. Just in case, because I'm slightly paranoid. Cool, everything seems to be working. Great, okay. So, Rails feature system tests. Let's start with the most basic thing, just by Googling something. Okay, so the difference between system specs and feature specs, that's probably a good place to start. Zoom in a little bit. If you're like me, you might have found the difference between our specs, feature specs, and system specs to be a little too nuanced to be easily understandable. Here's my explanation of the difference between the two. Okay, so there's high-level tests, low-level tests. Okay, from feature spec to system spec to backstory to system tests. When Rails 5.1 came out, it was introduced with system tests. Ships with mini test. Just skimming through this, make this font a bit bigger. System specs are wrapper around Rails' own system tests. That means it's no longer required to explicitly include the capybara gem, and because system tests are already run inside a transaction, you don't need database cleaner. Okay, system specs are wrappers around Rails system tests. Benefits of using system specs include, instead of feature specs, that you don't have to explicitly include the capybara gem, nor do you have to use database cleaner. Okay, cool. Is it the same API? Like if you don't have to bring in capybara, let's go and take a look then. So the kind of history that I bring to this, apart from me about to sneeze, is having used capybara for a long time. So I think version 5, okay. Use a Selenium driver using the Chrome browser. Okay, fine. The capybara gem is automatically required. So when you bring in the system specs, yes, it's the same API. It is using capybara, but you don't have to do it. Aspect does not use your application system test case helper. Instead, it uses default driven by Selenium from Rails. Okay, hopefully this is super straightforward. So this is all familiar. I haven't used driven by rec test. Okay, so by default, it'll be driven by Selenium. Okay, so it seems just like a cleaner version of having to do all this manually, which is what I've had to do in the past. So this is all here by default. Like, do I need to do anything, or do I just need to put type system at the end of a in terms of a type? So we've got request spec. If I now do this, I'm just making this up. Actually, let's do admin events. Just kind of thinking, like, I think managing an event spec, because I find that when you're naming other spec types, you can often say, like, if they follow the action, like a controller test will be like the create action or the update action, or you're just doing a controller. A system spec, what I would usually call a feature test or an integration test, I guess, you might be moving through a bunch of stuff. So your folder structure, and by moving through a load of stuff, I mean you might touch multiple controllers, multiple actions, JavaScripty stuff, loads of different things. So the folder and naming system of your specs sort of becomes a bit more kind of less defined by the behavior you're testing and more, am I going to be able to, am I and other engineers on this team going to be able to find this test in the future, and does it make sense? So like this is in system/admin. So by admin, we mean admins within the system, people who have administrative powers. But like admin and an event spec, in this case, we would mean admin like can edit, update, destroy. So perhaps manage an event. I'm not sure that's great either, but let's go with it for now. That kind of comes from, I think can uses that sort of thing. So like can update a resource, can edit a resource, can manage a resource. My memory is that manage is like a wrapper word representing those other behaviors. So can I just have one that's not... So I think like if it's going to do Selenium by default, need any of that stuff. So do we have to... Okay, let's just see what's here by default. Yeah, and also the describe blocks, I guess, are more up for grabs as well. So we can come back to a naming pattern for this. Let's get something working. So we'll skip the before. We'll do this. We'll do like a basic test. I don't know if we, because I think what I'm trying to find out is like what's at the moment. Let's just put can access the homepage. We don't really care about what's happening. So put visit new. We don't need to do anything. What does the homepage say at the moment? It says like, yeah, you're on Rails. Oops. Cool. Okay, so you can see that we now have a test. Let's copy that. And run it. So what I'm actually checking for is like when it says we have capybara and things like that available. Yeah. So I think visit comes from capybara and things like that. So in here, okay, but that's in test system. So let's go back and do another Google search for why else we keep getting started with system tests in Rails and mini test. And let's do Rails system, Rails spec system tests. Okay, but I already use capybara in my RSpec test. Why is this better? Even if you are already using RSpec, the system test still offers some benefits. Configuring the capybara browser is easier. There, so should I use it? The RSpec team is recommending using system tests instead of feature tests for integrated testing, whether or not using it as a drought. Okay, so I'm on board. So we've got this. We've got something that says type system at the end. Nope, I copied it up. That's maybe why. The one thing I needed to do, I didn't do. I didn't change it to system. Okay, fine. This might be cool if it works. Just straight out of the box. Ah, okay. Amazing. A browser. Oh, very exciting. No root matches / screenshot image. Oh, wow, that's cool. So I can click on that and what happens? Oh, exciting. Okay, this is all new to me. I'm living in a world this is the image that just got open, by the way. I'm living in a world where this does not happen. I'm living in a world where, and by living, I mean like in like other apps and things like that. So Puma caught this error. No root matches get / Oh, that's okay. Well, okay, progress. This is exciting. One of the reasons I'm so excited by this in the world in which I am living is that capybara and all of the featured and system test stuff used to take, it was like a finely balanced thing to get something to run in a browser. I'm talking about years ago, but getting a driver to run, it was like, it had to be Firefox at one point with Selenium, and then like Chrome driver was just like amazing, and a massive appreciation to all of the work for the many engineers who made it work out the box. All right, so this isn't working for us, but we're not too bad. We've got a screenshot. We've got something. We've got okay, so / should work. / should just be our, does it need a port number? Does it need some configuration? So from that little screenshot it just generated, which I need to get back up. Okay, so it doesn't show you the port number it was trying to access, I guess. That's probably hard to read on the stream. It just says no root matches get, so it just gives you this error. Path info. Okay, but it did do something. So do we need any more setup? Let's go take a look. How do I set up system tests? The argument it's driven by is the capybara driver. The default one is Selenium. So is there a default value for driven by? Do we have? No. I'm guessing we can. Make test driver is a normal capybara default used in its home machine, not support JavaScript. Selenium Chrome Headless requires Selenium WebDriver gem, which is installed by default in Rails 5.1. Okay, so let's just see if that does something. How, I'm guessing we can just add that in our spec helper. A Rails helper as it is. Just seeing if there's anything in here. It says like Chrome. Selenium or anything like that. What? Selenium. No, okay. If you're using device integration helpers tests like sign-on, you need to add configuration to include them, such as config include device test integration helpers type system, maybe device test controller helpers. So I think we're already using the controller helpers. Okay, this seems pretty straightforward. That's the specific thing for Circle CI at the bottom there. So that's the one we've already viewed, but I was hoping we could just check the config. I said this was be available by default. I'm just skimming through these really quickly. This is sort of where I've been in the past, where it's like a certain amount of configuration needed to get something like Chrome driver working. I don't really care that it's Chrome driver specifically, but if Selenium, whatever the default one is, or Capybara, oh, the default is Selenium. Okay, so let's put it in as a before. Let's see what that does. Oops. Okay, let's see what it does now. The same error. Okay, so maybe we're not getting to the point of firing that up or anything. One. Does the screenshot have the same path? Is it just the line number so it overwrites every time? Okay, cool. Okay, can we call this error no? I'm assuming, like I would assume visit is just... Let me just pass it other stuff and see what if we get a different result back. Oh, okay, well, okay, that's interesting. With a different driver, you do get a different screenshot back, so it is doing something different. Every matches get. So Rails. Spec system tests. I'm looking for a specific thing because obviously you get that failure if you haven't got a path there, but obviously we have a path at our root. And I'm also looking specifically for system tests. Doing something stupid, so let's try something that we know should like users sign in. Let's try this. Just see if we get something different. Yes, amazing. Okay, so it's the path that's wrong. Oh, how exciting. Oh my God, this is so exciting because of how little config this has taken. Like, I think I'm just really bringing to it a lot of bias from back in the day when this used to just be so. So that is a screenshot of our login page. We've had to install no additional gems. Like, everything has just been taken care of. And like, I just put in Selenium Chrome headless and that just worked as well. And nothing had to happen to make that work, which is super impressive. Okay, so the homepage path didn't, the root path didn't work, which is weird. So user sign in works. We are happy with that. So let's just put a passing test. Oh no, let's get that test to. So rather than user sign in, what's the one to sign up? Go to user sign up. Let's make it real. Do a thing. So I don't know what it's called. User email or just email or something. User email. And then we've got user. Password and user password confirmation. And click button sign up. And I think this might pass because I think you do get sent to the home page, don't you? Let's see what happens. Yeah, this is just so exciting to someone like me who has lost many an hour of their life to the fact that these system tests or feature tests or integration tests or whatever was so unbelievably hard to set up. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So I'm assuming that all of this is working and we are redirecting you to the homepage and something is happening there where you're getting note because we're redirecting you to no root matches get slash. So here, for example, if we put in 2 different passwords and then rerun the same test, we shouldn't be anywhere else. We should see an error or something like that. Yep, this is exactly what. So password confirmation doesn't match. So this is working. Everything is working as expected. Amazing. But the issue is that we can't view our own homepage. What? Ah, do we not have a route defined? Is that the issue? Oh, because we're using the Rails thing. Okay, this is making a lot of sense. So we're just using this random. So if you go to localhost here, we're just using some sort of default Rails built-in thing. And obviously system tests don't seem to like that. So we actually haven't put in a homepage. We just haven't bothered. We just like never got there. So would that, let's just see if that would fix the issue. I want to find out if that's the problem. So let's put in like, we have like a, yeah, whatever. Just going to really quickly just put a controller in with a static page in. I've kind of used this pattern before. I think this is sort of a pretty lightweight way of doing it, where you're likely to need like some about you pages and stuff when you're starting an app. So I've used just having this idea of a static controller, which the actions aren't, because you could have a homepage action show and all that stuff, homepage controller show with a show action, but it's just going to render this out, and it groups everything in the same place when you're still small. Static, and then we can put in something like which one? Homepage. And then we need to tell route 2. So is it like that? Static homepage. No, I'm gonna have to Google that. Rails route route if you're in the US. Using route. Route 2 pages main, route pages main. It's the same thing. Okay, so route 2 static homepage. Does that work? So now if we go to this homepage, so and then if we run our test, was it simply that we were using built-in Rails homepage? If that's the only issue, then like I was saying earlier, a huge credit to every engineer that has made that. What did I put on it? Homepage. That has made that so simple, because it didn't used to be, and I genuinely thought we were going to spend most of the stream just working on the list of gems. Okay, so let's run this. If this passes, amazing. We are done. We are good to go. We can actually write some tests. I didn't set the thing back to use the same password. Amazing. Absolute heroes to the Rails and RSpec teams and anyone else involved in that. Like, we have done no additional work to have full feature tests with a swappable driver in it, and it's just had no issues or anything. And I don't think I can articulate how good that is from back in the day, where it was like a combination of gems and config that you didn't really understand and just diving in and things like that. Just so good. And also set a route on your Rails app early, because it will, because it's a good idea, and we should do that. Okay, so let's leave our homepage in. Let's put a commit with our homepage in it. And we can come back and slightly. Oh, we should put a test in for it to prove that it works. So these are our request specs. notes. And we want to just check that you don't need to be logged in to access that, because that can then give us a place to treat as our homepage moving forward. Because I do want to do the graphic design stuff shortly, because we're getting towards the end of having basic stuff to build, so we want it to look nice. And we just need to say you don't need to be logged in to access it or anything like that. And this is like a get, isn't it? Yeah. It's just going to be get slash. It's a home page. We want our show action to do this. And what we're checking, what that test is for, is basically like we don't accidentally put only allow sign-in users to access this path or anything like that. Make sure it's always available to the public. Pretty basic, but useful if we cock it up. So let's do some tidying up and commit some of these changes, because this can go right at this. We can kind of this can go right at the start of our PR, because that solves the problem before we then get to our feature tests. So add route note spec system specs fail for the route when it's not defined in routes. Cool. Okay, so no, that can immediately get fix up this file from routes. This PR is already a mess, but that's fine. We can tidy up. We've got home page. Fuck's sake. I could go in there as well. Yeah, we can tidy all that up. Okay, great. So this isn't what we want to be testing at all. This was just a test to see if it worked. Right. So managing event. What what we want is to test this behavior. Then let's say so we want this way as an admin, and I'm assuming we want that our helpers, the system spec helpers that were mentioned somewhere in one of these device. If you're using device integration test helpers like sign in, you need to add configuration to include them, such as config include devices. So I've always found these super helpful at the controller test level, which we already have, I think. So I think in our Rails helper, we have added... Right, we've added them as request helpers, and that lets you do stuff like sign in user. But I think in feature tests, I've just had... I don't think I've used them in feature tests. I think what I've had is a shared example, or like a block that that actually sends the user off to go and actually fill in the sign-in form. They're signed in, and then you just send them to the place where you're trying to go. I think the idea being that it fully represents, like this sign-in one, I think is just doing some sort of warden-based stuff. It's just doing something to the user. I can't actually remember. So I think here we might want like we could have a block which is like it creates an admin user. So we can then extract this out. So let's say we have an admin user. I can't even remember what makes them an admin. Don't they have anyone with an organization membership? I think is a. Oh, we must have done that in a request spec somewhere. Okay, so we create a user and then create this organization membership for the user. Okay, so we have let user and then we have an organization and then we have this this record here that makes them an admin because you're creating an organization membership for the user and the organization. And then here again, we're going to extract all this out, but I'm assuming we could do something like this. So that we then want to enter password into the password box. That's the user's password. Because I don't know if you can call user.password. So maybe, remember. And I'm guessing this is sign in rather than sign up. And I actually don't know where they go from there, so we'll see what happens with this test. Right, so that's as an admin. So this needs to go into before because it's a thing that happens. The rest are lets. And then in here, we can access the admin events page, for example. So we can extract all this out in a bit. We'll take a look at some like best practice for, oops, wrong way, for these things. Like, should we be using those like the helpers that device gives us and stuff. Right, what happens with this? What's broken? Everything. Okay. Oh, a typo. Okay. So we've got a block there. I've got a do missing there. Oh, typo there. Unable to find field user. There is no password confirmation on sign in because you've already signed up. Sign in that is not disabled, so the button probably doesn't say sign in. It says login. Of course, why not mix those two things up by default? Sign up and log in. Sign in, log in, log up, log in. Nonsense. Okay. Is it because this user isn't confirmed? Which I bumped into recently, which is just really annoying and we need to have a plan for. Just checking that. Yeah, great. Okay. So test passes. So the user So what did we actually just do then? There was a lot going on then. Also, do we need this? Does that actually open the browser if I take that out? Yes. It loads up Chrome. You see stuff happening. Okay, so yes, we want that in. But we want to move that to a helper. A config, sorry. Let's do that first. Just want to check how best to do that. Capybara current driver. Capybara.default driver. Okay. So these are all rspec dot, not capybara dot. But I think because we're doing them, can we just do that up at the top here? And then spec configure blah blah. I think so. What happens now? So does Chrome open? Or does it happen headlessly? It happens headlessly. Okay, so that seems to be working. So let's commit that as well. Use default Capybara driver. Great. Okay, cool. So that's super helpful. That can then go because that's now the default. I mean, this is now actually all in here because that's the bit that A makes an admin and then B signs in as them. So that's actually all the bit we need to extract out from this so that we can just say as an admin. And then we can do visit. And this goes back to my question about the request, request specs, which is that by default we seem to be using strings for the paths rather than the path helpers, which I see all the time. So I'm assuming that's not in this one. I'm assuming that's a goal that we want to work towards and not away from. Remember where? Yeah, like visit widgets new. That's not like new widgets path. But is that just because it's the docs? Or is that a good idea because it separates the thing that you're actually trying to do? So this should be admin. Because if you end up with a bunch of helpers that build these for you, because can't be asked to maintain them, isn't that what the path helpers are for? So visit admin organization.slug/events, and then it could put like expect page to have new event. Actually, don't know what's on that page. It totally didn't work. It was a false positive because I had forgotten to remove the block. The config didn't work. Damn you. That was totally my fault. So just opening up. Here we go. Default driver, JavaScript driver. I don't even know if these are in. Oh, JS driver, Selenium Chrome headless JS driver. Oh, maybe it's the JavaScript driver that should be changed then. Give it another try. Sorry, I hadn't removed that before block, which is why that worked, and I made a false assumption, which I was super happy about. Nope, that still opens. I wonder if we should put this inside the aspect config. Oh, I see. Maybe they actually do both. So they set it in. Wait, what? They're setting it as the default, and then before every test they set it as well. Okay, so maybe we just tell aspect just to do that every time. Is there any config.before set up already? No. Okay. And then we can just, well, we may as well put back the thing we took out anyway. Like that, which is effectively just putting a before block before each one anyway. So does that work? We're looking to see whether the browser opens up. Okay, great. So we get the failure without that. Okay, so let's now go and do another fix up on that. Set up this correctly. And we will go back and tidy up those commits. We're not going to leave them as noisy as this. Cool. Okay, right. So now we think that is working. Okay, cool. So admin organization / and so let's actually go and take a look at what should be happening then. So admin. Oh, I got it the wrong way around. It's Sunday Club admin events. Okay, sorry. Here's the organization name and admin events. Is it new event that it says? Oh, new event, yes. Great, so we could sort of do an end-to-end here, so we can say click a link, new event, and then on the page that comes up, we can do fill in event name with test event name, no matter what it says. And we also want it to move like this one forward a bit. I can't remember how to do these ones, but this UI isn't staying the same, so we just want to do something quick. So we can do capybara select option. Select option name here from. And if we do this one as well, we can just put one as 1 and one as 7, and it'll always work. That event starts at 3i. Or 1 is 1 and 1 is 2, it doesn't really matter as long as the One is after the other one. This is just the day of the week, the day of the month that they're on. So every month has a first and every month has a second. And it doesn't matter about anything after that. It doesn't matter what time zone they're in, so then they should be able to click button, create event. And then they should get taken somewhere, but I can't remember. I think we take them back to all of the events. So if we do test event name, and we just adjust this one. Again, it doesn't matter what it says as long as it's after the other one, create event. We get taken back here, so we then should see test event name. I think we can sort of just make a... Because we could do a within here, because we want to make sure if there were multiple events on the page, we would always want the edit button for the one we've just made. So if we were to say like click button or click link edit, that would work. Because we've only got one event. But if you were to change a test on this page to introduce another event and then not look to clear it for any reason, you would have two. So you wouldn't, it would be like, hey, there's two edit buttons here. So you could, there's a bunch of ways you can do stuff like this. So you could have an event list item in here. You could give this an ID and then say that it is admin event list item. Event.id, and then you could use this within the test, I guess. So then you can have within selector do click link edit, and that I have to check the syntax for this, but I think what's happening, what that would do is tell Capybara to only look for a link called edit within within an element that matched that selector. So that would make it again, you're editing your DOM to match your testing there, which isn't always ideal, but with feature tests, you're, I don't know, I find that you're sort of making compromises throughout with this end-to-end stuff anyway. I don't think that having that ID is unreasonable. And also from the stuff we did with turbo frames and turbo streams and stuff, these IDs on the elements are actually super useful. And maybe that would get kind of solved by having that anyway. So let's see if this would, but then click on this in real life, you get this, and then you could say update the name, updated event name, and then oh, that still says create event. Let's update that to say save event and update the component as well. That's not a component, is it? Because it's a form. Let me view admin form, and this can just be save event. And then we can do the same thing here. So now we could say expect page. Oops, I guess something like that. This would be crap though, because that would be in the error message if you, that would potentially be on the page if you did have an error saving here. So you could put the flash message like successfully updated event name, or again, you could actually do this again so that you knew that you had it within the right command. I have no idea if this is the correct syntax or anything. Let's just go and find some errors and see what happens. See what shows up. ID for nil class. Is it not an instance? Is it just event? So, oh, there it is. Oh, because we've only just made the event here. I see. Okay, so you don't know the ID of the thing we just made, so that's stupid. I've actually done things where you can retrieve it from the path in a feature spec. So you create it and then it's like, hey, hold on, that is. Yeah, that's a good point because we're doing the create here as well. You could do the create and the edit separately in the test, although I find that with the feature test, it's like just as useful to have the user run all the way through the whole thing, because you can introduce weird little missed bits if you try and do them individually in feature specs. You can miss like a page transition or something that is actually broken, but you can presumably miss things on doing it all in one as well. So. Yeah, okay, so that's totally not going to work. Where the fuck was I thinking we would get this from? Okay. Could you do something like this? Is this just an awful idea? It feels like an awful idea. Let's see if it works. Unable to find CSS admin event list item 224. Let's see where we actually are. So we do have this. And let's go and take a look in the real world. Our browser and see if we have that ID as we expect. Admin event list item 1. Okay. Admin event. So this is not a selector. That is a selector. Okay, cool. So that is now doing the thing. Could you just get it to spit out those screenshots? Because that's super cool. And I have had that working once, but never like this seamlessly. It was always a pain in the bum. So like rspec system test screenshot. I don't need any of this other stuff open. Close. This is the, okay, so that's all. That's them when they fail. Screenshot and save page, copy. So see if that does it. Does it then spit it out, or do you have to go and look in that directory that it generated before? Okay, that doesn't work. But we did get a screenshot, funnily enough, because as long as you just put an error, then you get the screenshot at the other end. Okay. So it's not that. It's not that. Okay. Page over this gym source storage compared to screen. Okay, so maybe it's this. Okay, maybe it's just this. Just guessing now. I'm just picking stuff from the. I have no idea if path is a valid thing. Just trying to get some quick wins without doing any proper looking up. I think that's crazy useful. Again, so no, we don't have that. Again, we actually got the screenshots. So RSpec system tests manual screenshot. Selenium screenshots using RSpec 2010 Capybara screenshot formatted. Page.save screenshot. Maybe just try some of these. Just genuinely excited by this. Let's try page.save screenshot. Because I don't actually know what's generating the screenshot. Like oh, something happened. Do I have a screenshot.png in here? In our oops. In our temps. TMP. Oh, amazing. Amazing. So page.save screenshot will work out the box. Okay. Super exciting. This is the sort of stuff I'm going to write in that email newsletter thing I mentioned at the start of the stream. Because this has been like a truly eye-opening experience as to how good this has now got and how little config we've had to do. Like everything just worked straight out of the box. So you can now create an event. You can then edit the event and update it. And that's it, because we don't do anything else right now. So we can put can manage an event. That's all it needs to do. Can manage an event. Okay, so this is super messy because we haven't abstracted out the idea of logging in as an admin or any of that stuff, which I guess is what we want to do next. But let's get this committed because I think it's all we want. Let's do these as separate commits because that can get fixed up because we changed that form. So update button text on admin event form. This one is add ID to add event ID to DOM in admin event list item component. And then this one is our actual initial system spec for admins managing events. So this all worked out the box, but it'll be interesting to see if it works on CI, which we're currently using a very basic GitHub Actions out the box. Let's tidy up this mess of a Git log from the last set of work. And see if we can then push it and whether the test pass on CI. Okay. What? Add not found method. Yeah, great. Okay, so that's fine. Add initial public facing event page. I thought some of this had already. I'm gonna have to do that thing where I open source tree because I like a visual thing of the other branches. That's another repo. This one. So that, oh no, all of this is great. Okay, so the public event pages went up, but for some reason didn't get merged. Is there a PR for that we made last week? Just gonna go check in my other screen, bear with me. Okay, I'm just also testing the audio from this stream because I've got a message. Be really annoying if this is broken. No, it seems to be working. Okay, great. So is there a PR for this? Let's go find out from last week. There are no open PRs. Oh, whoops. Okay, wrong way, but I'm just on the other screen, so bear in mind. There is an open PR from last week, which is this one. Drag this over. Add initial public facing events. Okay, don't know why this didn't get merged. Must have just pushed it and waited for the test to pass last week. In order to get this shipped expeditiously, nice. I'd quickly add ID to a view in order that we can check for its presence to know we have the correct event. However, ideally we can disassociate this is a slug from the name in the factory. Yeah, okay. I think in these early stages, I think there's a bunch of stuff we just do to get some initial tests up and running because the behavior is going to change so dramatically that I don't think it really matters. So these two can actually go. They've already been. Oh, let's just leave them there. That'll be fine. So add full organization from slug. That. Behavior. There was the take. So we add that method. Sorry, I know this font is really small on the streams, but they won't let me change it. But it is a really handy app to go through this. So I just can I do this in this editor here? I guess I probably can. Like you just get such a tiny amount of screen real estate. So these are the commits here on this left-hand panel that are in this rebase list. And I'm just checking that this fix up here. No, these are just arbitrarily, like that's just because it was over a week ago. That's still not actually 1 and 2. Okay, fix up. That's the fix up action. Yeah, okay, so that does, the fix up wants to go into add action. Sorry, I don't know if this is making any sense, but I'm just going to, that one does want to get fixed up into the one above it. Don't need to mention why, but we do want to reword that, but I don't think any of these have been written yet. Add update action, and then this one is fix up add root for update action. Use form partial. Missed file from roots. I think all of those three can go together. Again, I'm just going to check. So that adding roots added the static controller in that file, but I then missed adding it to actually. Oh, that one can probably stay. But the homepage didn't get the view. Okay, so that one. This was a real mess. I was moving way too quick here. So that one can probably stay. But these can get swapped and that one can go because it's the view from that one, which is not adding a root. That is adding a homepage thing. Such a mess. So that one can get fixed up. Update button text on admin event form. I can't remember where we did that. Use form partial, so that one can go all the way up here. Okay, there. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so let's tidy all that up. Sorry if that made no sense. That was just like a mega. So this isn't that. This is add initial static home page. Okay, let's go back to this. Okay, so successfully rebased. So everything should now be mildly tidied up. Yeah, just this UI for this one doesn't quite do. Can I move commits out and move it somewhere else? No, just be cool to get a longer view of this page. And I've had another Git extension installed, but this one sort of works for most of the time. On streaming, I don't have as much screen real estate. All right, okay, fair enough. So we can do it here. And I didn't fix that one up because I think it's fine as a commit on its own. And then let's get this one merged into master and rebase this. Okay. So we can... So that should merge our pull request. Great. And then we can do git check out wherever we were before. Edit events in admin. I've got to turn off whatever is... There's something in iTerm that's doing weird copy and paste behavior. I've got to turn it off because it's breaking my brain. Git checkout, edit events in admin. Yeah. Rebase master. And let's just quickly reword that one that says fix up, because otherwise it will keep confusing me. Come back and write all these up later. Okay, so that rebase has now worked. So now we can see if our system test will work on CI. I don't know, that'll do. No one's reading these. It's not, so it doesn't matter right now. The commit messages are all we're really going to care about. And we're going to come back and tidy all this up anyway, so we can maybe write a commit message at the time. Right, so what we're checking for here is we have done... It was super exciting because we didn't have to do anything on the local development environment side when we wanted to run system tests. Everything was installed out the box before we had got here, which was amazing. And Now what we want to know is the same thing true on our CI, for which we have again used just some off the shelf, out the box GitHub Actions steps. I don't know what they're called, like scripts that are provided by people. And if it works, again, it will be a huge testament to the amazing engineers all over the world who have basically abstracted away what used to take hours, and getting CI to run with any kind of system test or feature test or integration was just a pain in the bum. And you'd have one for Heroku, one for Circle, and one for Worker, and one for all these other things. So we'll see what happens. So in the meantime, I think I'll try and tidy that PR up off stream because it's pretty boring. What is next? What is next? What are we doing next? Because there's real functionality in this thing now, which is pretty exciting. It looks like a dog's dinner, but that's fine. I'm just going to do a design on another stream. I'm just going to grab a Notion page, which is what we're kind of normally using as a very rough. Okay, so admin can see list of events. Yes, they can administrate events. Yes, and I think feature test to create. Yes, that's done. Feature test to update. That's sort of done. That's what we're doing right now. That's in progress. Okay, we're going to do this one. Add feature test for public listing. Okay, we can do that one as well. Now that we've got feature tests up and running. We need to do it as a branch off this branch. Let's leave that for a second and see if the CI passes first. But yeah, okay, we can get that one done. That's what we can do. Okay, and what's in the little backloggy thing? Like an MVP list of stuff we're trying to do. These can go from here, right? Like these are links to... These are just shortcuts. I think that's what this little thing here means. So can I... If I delete that, I'm not deleting the whole page? Okay, I can't delete it? What? Okay, I think I can do that. Okay, there we go. And I'm not deleting that page, I think, because I think that's just a shortcut. So I think if I go back to... I think these are still here. Okay, so these are where the real page is. So it's still loving Notion, not complaining about some weird stuff I don't understand. Oh no, we got test failure. God damn it, that's so excited. Undefined method driven by. Okay, so do we need to install something on CI? Okay, let's operate. Let's just see. Okay, no one's... Undefined method driven by, that's inferior to a failure, which states you must have Puma in a gem file, I would think. Thank you for working on the system. Must have Puma in your gem file. I'm assuming that's not the issue that we have, because we do have Puma in the gem file. Okay. Okay, I was hoping that quick Google. Okay, so I have had to do this before in my Rails helper for Heroku CI. I don't know if it was exactly this, but it was something similar. Is that also the case here? Maybe if I just search for using system specs in actions, probably should put Rails in there as well. I think must include system probably sounds right. These all seem to be bringing back the same page where it's system. Let's put system specs in there and see if anyone's. Must include actions. Okay, should we go and actually look at what that error message actually said? Rather, I was hoping a quick Google round. So failure driven by underlying method driven by for Aspect example groups event. Okay, so we get a failure for. I guess we actually don't want that to run before all of them anyway. Like, do all of my other tests fail and that now actually only works for the system ones? Yeah, that probably makes sense, doesn't it? Because I've probably wrapped it around all of our tests, like I didn't test them locally. Okay, cool. So maybe it does work. And it's only our feature tests that are passing. So do we get one success on here? Do we get FF? Ah, amazing. Yeah, great. Okay, so it's just me. That's the third time I've fucked up that same config. Just should have looked it up. Great. Okay, well, that's cool. I mean, it does imply that things would have worked out the box. Where am I going? Spec. Rails helper. So this is obviously stupid because we only want this to apply for our system specs, not to all tests, because it breaks on all tests. Great. Okay, so our spec driven by let's say helper. Uses the default driven by from Rails. So that's actually a Rails config we want to set, is it? From Rails. So I thought that was coming from our spec. So I'm obviously needing to set that somewhere else. Just skirting around for someone setting that at a Rails level. But they've done it before. Okay, but that's in their specific test. That's also in their test. That's also in their test. I'm just gonna look for. Okay, that's doing a whole other thing. So we did add it as the default driver, and that didn't seem to work. Like this was what we were doing before. There's a bunch of stuff going on here. That sort of looks like what I was supposed to be doing. So because even this is still setting the up. Oh, that's not specking the aspect because it's. Can we just do a before type? Like, but aspect says it's not loading this up. Do we have that this file? No. System test configuration. The default options. Okay, so where can this live? Do we need to generate a file like this? Because we don't have... Okay, so do we have this? No, so where do we set driven by? Or can we just call this? Can we just do... this? Let's see what that does. Undefined method driven by equals, do you mean driven by? So it's not assignable, driven by a driver. Okay. So now it doesn't drive the actual feature test. So the others all passed because they weren't system tests and I've removed the before block that broke it. But now that driven by isn't actually happening. Okay, so I'm definitely missing something that must be fairly obvious here, which is how do I set the default value of this to... Sorry, I'm reading this. I'm not entirely... Chrome driver help. Great. Okay. Yeah, this all sounds great, but I need... Do I actually have to define this like this? Like this? No, it's still not working. So again, this shouldn't be bringing up a browser because that's not using the headless thing. It worked when we defined it in the individual test. So require test helper. So that's all for mini test. Okay, so someone's like, just put type on your before. Okay, fine. So I was sort of maybe nearly there. Like this, I guess. And we can probably pull this because it's not doing anything. Don't think. Right, they're all passing and it didn't open Chrome. Okay, so I just needed to put the type. That wasn't one of my first options. I was looking for Okay, so this seems to be what someone else has put in here. Oh, that's kind of cool. You could put. So the driver isn't actually switched. Okay, great. Oh, this is super long. Okay. I'm really glad it's not just me. There is a really long conversation around what this looks like, which is really good. But if people are just like, hey, stick a before block in, that's fine, I think. I think I kind of wanted off. Okay, great. So everything passed? Great. So now we should be able to commit that. Remove that. Added that. And that can be so now this should rerun those tests. And we should have what we were hoping for, which is like an out of the box, no config required on Google, on GitHub Actions, end-to-end CI. Should be amazing. And let's go back to our Notion stuff to see what we're doing. So we can add a feature test for public listing. How confident are we in branching off this branch, this very, very messy branch, just to add another feature test? I think we're sort of confident, aren't we? Specs are there. System spec for super long branch name. So here we can say system new file. Viewing an event. figure all that wording stuff out later. So all of our before stuff should now be handled. And so now we can say context. So this is basically the same as the request spec, but the request spec, I think, doesn't fire up an actual browser. It triggers the controller and just looks at the HTML that comes back. So if you had something in your JavaScript that like prevented the browser from rendering, I guess. I guess we don't render the JavaScript, but something that failed, and I guess we'll add some logic to these tests. It shows the event. I don't know, we're going to go pretty basic at the moment. And we can just do visit. So we need an event first. With a event. And so at the moment we don't have any logic about like when an event is hidden or visible or public or anything like that. So this will be need an organization to know the path, because everything is nested within the organization.slug / events, and then it would be event.slug, and then we would expect page to have content event.name. I think that's all we have at the moment. And so I haven't checked any of that syntax. Let's just run it and see if it works. It does. Cool. Okay. Cool. That's pretty basic. That ticks that off. And see if we got our pass. Oh, we did. Amazing. Right. So the thing earlier was totally my cock up. The failure of this was because I had cocked up the before block and not put that it was only relevant to system tests. But what this actually means is that from the start to end of this stream, like everything has worked totally out of the box. All of the kind of reasons it hasn't worked have been mine. And why has this got one request open? Oh, for this. Okay. And so like, that failure was my fault. So everything in here, we can just tidy up. But system tests in Rails are now basically from like a dream compared to where they were years ago. So yeah, just keep saying it, but thank you to everyone who makes that even vaguely possible. So we can commit this on here on this new branch, and we can put add initial system spec for public facing event pages. Oh, whoops. Wait, what? Okay, fair enough. Cool, and that's on its own weird little branch. What that means is we can move this one over, and that little tick box can get done. So this has some feature tests and just needs to go up. This now has a feature test and just needs to get tidied up. So they are ready to go. In fact, we can also push. Oh, fuck it, there's only one extra one. Right, so what's next? From our little MVP list. User can register for an account. User can register for an account. So user can register for an account now. But now that we have a home page, do we want to add like a sign in, sign up button to make our lives a little easier? Let's turn into page. And we can move that to so we want to add link, sign up, the home page, add link to sign into the home page. Do we want to do something where, even though we don't have a UI design yet, we know we're going to probably want some sort of persistent login thing that's available at the top of the screen? Just like a standard user experience. So do we want to do that now, or do we want to know what it looks like first? Probably want to know what it looks like. We can just add these to the home page really quickly. I think that would do for now, and come back to worrying about like a nav bar and all that fun stuff later. What else is in here? Right, so admin can see less. User can register for event. User can update details, so that's like giving them their own page to manage their name and stuff. That one's going to be a fun one because that's got all of the fun stuff. Like if they've bought a ticket and things like that, we don't want them to delete their account if they've got stuff going on. Because you want to flush all their personally identifiable information from an application, or say that you're like GDPR compliant and things like that. But if they've bought a ticket to an event and the event organizer needs to know all their details, you sort of need to say, hey, here's what's still going to be on the system if you close your account. User can see which event. So that one's linked to this idea of them having a place where they can update their details and see their stuff. Public can see event listing. Well, that one's done as well. So we can, let's delete these kind of ones that have gone elsewhere. Delete. Oh, okay, so the little button on the end doesn't work, but doing it in the middle does. Yeah, well, this is just stuff we're going to need. So is this what we're going to do next? Is there anything else that we want to cover? Like before we get into user can register for an event, I really want to do the user interface design stuff because it just looks so rough at the moment. It would be fun if it actually looked cool when they were registering. We've done some of the model design discussions earlier in the stream, earlier in the channel, as to how we're going to do that, like a basic version of having an order with that you can create attendees. Do we want to, before we do that, do we want to add more stuff to an event? Like at the moment, we've got 4 very basic fields because we've got no UI, but we did mention somewhere doing the logic of, must be back on here. Oh, I thought we'd added like, on the public page, you can kind of set when something is available for registration. let's do this one so that they can do change. Can I do that now in device? Can I change my password? Can't remember. Yeah, I think you can change your password or you can get a new email sent out. You're able to change your name and stuff. Yeah, let's do this one because it'll be non-admin based. Let's turn into page in planning. This. That's the big one. That's like the turn to page in planning. Turn into page in planning. Let's turn into page in backlog. That one's a big one. How did I just keep doing that? Oh, here we go. Turn into page in backlog. And this one is effectively that, so that one can turn into page in planning because that's the same thing. Okay, so then we can remove. That's just stuff we're not doing, so that's fine. That was just from there. And that is useful links, but stuff like can go in the email. There's loads of stuff around wizards there. We can come to that because I think I've got some cool ideas around like using turbo streams to not have a wizard. You basically stay where you are and the frame changes. This can all go, I think. We have like an archive. Stuff we have written, but probably don't need anymore. So MVP list can go to the archive. Cool. And I think priority-wise we want to do this one because it's easiest. This one because it's big. And I think we can. I think we can slot a bunch of stuff in top of these. Maybe these can all go into the backlog, but in this order, because I think we want to do the user interface design, which I think we're pretty much there. Anyway, that's all what we're doing. We have got these things which are green, and we've got our other one. Okay, I am going to wrap it up because that is nearly 2 hours for today. Got an app that does creates the events. Like, essentially, we're just adding a bunch of stuff to the events and adding logic and things. But the next big thing we're going to tackle, I think, is allowing people to sign up for those events, which is like the main part of an events registration application. So I'm going to try this week and set a date for the stream where we do at least some of the user interface design and maybe a couple. Maybe we take over the Sunday streams and do sketch there. Maybe not. Not sure. Other than that, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, we have got a little mailing list now that you can join. You have to go through the Sunday Club Twitter account at the moment. I'll try and work out how to put a link in the YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone that has reached out or subscribed or said hello or done whatever. And that is it. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next week, at least. Bye.